Hi, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. I am Coach Sherry, and as you can see, this is day 34 out of 90 days going live. And I'm telling you, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it today because I'm actually traveling right now. We are coming back from my aunt's services. This is my last surviving aunt, sibling of either one of my parents, and it was just it was just really heartfelt, to be there. I definitely made sure that my dad was there. This was his last sibling, and my dad and all of his siblings were very close. But the thing about funerals, it's almost like a family reunion, when you gather together with your family that you hadn't seen in many years. And unfortunately, for many, it's been since the last funeral that we've seen each other. And you always, promise to stay in touch and promise that the next time it won't be in a situation like this. But inevitably, in many cases, it is the same type of situation. And, but you know what? Either way, be it life or in death, getting together with family is so important. And I I don't take it for granted, but sometimes I do a little bit where I forget just how dynamic my cousins are, my extended family in that way. And it's always good to be in their presence. I can say for both sides of my family, my mother's and my father's, the gatherings have never been brutal. They've never been these fallouts, wars, arguments, no fussing, no fighting, nothing like that. I never experienced any type of jealousy or ill will towards one another. It's always been love. And that's what I definitely felt today, just seeing them and their responses to seeing my children, and how much they have grown and are young adults now too. I see Mrs. Newton, big family, big noise is in the building. Yes, day 34. Oh my goodness. Yes, it's all love. And thank you so much for those prayers. Yes, my dad is going to be 86 next Sunday, and he is the last of the last in his tribe. And being the last is those are big shoes that you have to wear. um and it makes everyone, I think, cherish him even that much more. And it's just about trying to glean as much history as we can. What are some of the gaps that we may have that we didn't know about? There's always been this numbers game when it came to how many people were in my father's family, siblings. I know growing up, my mother used to always say 13. Oh, your father's one of 13, but in actuality is one of 11. So we're all was trying to figure out today, well, where's the other two come from? Or, and it might be because I know his mother also raised a couple of or a few nieces and nephews or grandchildren on her side, but some of my father's nieces and nephews. So maybe they just seemed like they were part of the clan, and were part of that number, and that made it 13. I'm not sure. Yes, and you caught Slasher's Chick live. I'm gonna have to catch her live. I'm just now jumping on YouTube for the day. I actually have been out. We left our home at like 3 o'clock this morning, and our intentions were to stay in Maryland. But after the service, we all kind of felt good. I have quite a few drivers, and so it was like, after the repass, we could probably make it back. And so we're headed back. So it's been a long day, and again, just spending that quality time with family. I didn't even take pictures, and there were a few pictures I wish I would have captured, like my daughters and my niece, and my brother and I, and my brother and father, and just cousins. But one of my father's cousins was there, who is, probably like my second or third cousin, and he loves to take pictures. So everyone's like, okay, well, we know he always has that Canon camera and always, setting people up like he's a photographer, but who's ever seen his pictures? So he took a lot of great pictures today, and I'm definitely going to see how I can get them. But she was saying, thank you so much, Mrs. Newton. So Slasher Chick has been on her grind too, and I know that she has a very busy schedule on and off YouTube, especially off YouTube. So I'm very, very happy that she's able to keep it up as well. That's encouraging to me. I see Slasher Chick is in the building. Yes, everything went very well today. Oh my goodness. It was a beautiful time to be with family. My aunt looked beautiful. Definitely at peace. She's at rest now. Um, she just lived such a good life, a great life actually, where we could all only hope to live. And just you knew that she was loved and that all she gave was love. And my father, he said a really good speech about her, and it basically was a microphone drop. No one really wanted to follow that, but just talking about her character and how he never saw her get angry at anyone, never saw her drink or cuss, swear, never heard her say anything ill about anyone, just being a good person, always being of service to others. And even when she went to like an adult daycare, she went there as if she worked there because in her former times, she was a nurse and she worked for the elderly. So she took care of elderly even when she was elderly. And because she had started to develop dementia, she was thinking she really was at work. And at one point, she was asking her daughters, they had me doing quite a bit. And I'm just wondering, when do I get paid? And they're like, Mom, like, no, you shouldn't even be doing all those things. And they weren't making her do any of that. That's just her nature. That's just her way. And even when she moved to her assisted living home in Maryland, her children told them, she's a former nurse. She worked with elderly, geriatrics and such. And they were like, oh, she'll be in great company because we also have a full physician. And, that still is on duty. And so it's just amazing how that turns out. But hey, TC, HBCU Queen TV, how are you? I was surrounded by some HBCU grads today at the service. Many of my cousins went to HBCUs. I had one, she went to Howard, one and myself, Lincoln, Morgan State. My daughters, they went to A&T, and my other daughter's getting ready to graduate. So definitely HBCUs were in the building today. Um, let's see, everyone is saying hello. Thank you so much, TC, HBCU Queen, for liking the video. And, I'm coming on here tonight talking about family matters. I don't really have a topic because I thought we were going to stay in a hotel. That was our intention. We are packed and able to, but it just felt like, you know what? Let's just keep going because sometimes I just like to wake up where I need to be for that day and not wake up and have to do the travel thing all over again. And that's what it would have been tomorrow. We would have, gotten to the hotel probably late because I would have definitely stayed at my cousin's a lot later than we did. And just fellowshipping and enjoying family because they matter. And then, waking up and tomorrow you have to be up and out by 11 at the hotel. And just to get on the road to have to drive this length of time and then get home and try to figure out, okay, how do I need to shape up my week? What do I need to do? And, rushing through that, trying to get rest and everything to prepare for the week. Whereas now, yeah, we might be getting home around 1:30, but when I wake up, I can wake up when I wake up. I don't have to wake up to check out, to get ready, to do anything. I can just be where I need to be. And that's going to be good. Thank you for the safe travels. It is hard to get photos when you're having fun. Yes. Especially when you're having authentic fun. I see some people, they're able to take those pictures, but I think they're just really focused on that Kodak moment. And there's just it's almost like a time and a place for everything. There's a time to play, a time to do, this and that. And so, because I was really enjoying my family, oh my goodness, some I hadn't seen since my mother passed away in 2010. And I have some particular cousins that no matter what, when I see them, for some reason, I get so filled. And it's wonderful just to be able to hug them, especially coming out of COVID, where I had a few other relatives that passed away. Some I was not able to go to their services, but the others, you had to keep your distance. It was all kinds of restrictions. And, for today, it just felt like old times. I see Elevate with Vern is in the building. Floyd, how are you? How are you doing today? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in and being here. I appreciate you. It was a beautiful homegoing. And it was beautiful because of her spirit. It had nothing to do with the fact that the place was beautiful. Um, it becomes a little complicated when you kind of start to move, and that's another thought that I have to have, considering with my dad, because she literally just moved to Maryland a month ago, even though two of her adult children live there, but she didn't have her own roots in that area, but they have their roots there. And of course she knows people there, but this service today, she hadn't joined a church yet, but she was part of the community, but not at the same time, if that makes sense. But they had a beautiful, beautiful funeral home, and it was really supposed to be more of a viewing for the family. And then she's going to have another service in New York, but I won't be able to attend because it'll be the same weekend as my daughter's graduation. um, but this one was beautiful just because, everyone was on one accord. There was Everyone's story was so similar because of how she was so consistent with everyone. Her spirit definitely was in the building. It just felt really good and comfortable, and the energy was just right. It really was. I see everyone. Thank you. Elevate with Vern. Clean living for sure. Yes. She definitely had a clean life. You know, we were all talking about her food and how well she cooked. And I just remembered when my mother, when she first became very ill and my family stopped our world, to go and care for her. And that was like the first time my children had transitioned to a new area, new school, new everything. And that aunt came and stayed with us the first week of school and made sure that my children had good nourishment for their bodies. She cooked for us, and it was just so well received and appreciated. But that's the type of person she was. We did not ask her. She did not ask us if we needed her to do that. She just showed up and was there, and that's what she did. Just like when I was saying with my parents' business, when certain holidays came around, we were extremely busy. It was all hands on deck. And, we even had to bring in reinforcements. Some of our friends who were familiar with the business would help out. And, everyone just did what they could. And she always would say, I want to help, but I can't do the business. I don't want to get in anyone's way. And so for those types of holidays, without us asking her, she just came and just had full course meals for us, everything you could think of: fried chicken, potato salad, collard greens, string beans salad, um, desserts, just everything you could think of, almost like a Thanksgiving dinner. And it would be enough food for everyone for a couple of days. And that was very considerate because it was challenging for us to go out and get food. And if we did, it was, of course, fast food, maybe pizza. You just grab a slice. It wasn't really nourishment for your body, but that was definitely food for the soul. And it made us even that much happier and had even that much better customer service. Yes. It is. And they say, may the life you live speak for you. And the life that she has lived is definitely speaking for her. Her legacy lives on through all of us. And because of who she was, I'm hopeful that it's going to encourage others to continue or to start, if they haven't already, to do well by others so that we can leave them in the feeling the way we felt in her wake. Yes. Yes, she continued to serve. Absolutely. Nurses have a special place in my heart. My mother is a retired nurse. Okay. And so two of my father's sisters were nurses. This one and the one that passed a couple of years ago, actually almost 2 years to the day. She was a nurse as well. And you know what was interesting? And those were two of my like dearest aunts for sure. And they were very, very close sisters. They used to travel together. They've been to Paris, London, the Caribbean, Alaska cruises. They used to cruise with my parents. My parents used to cruise all of the time, especially a couple of weeks in the winter. And my parents used to travel a lot, and they would bring their siblings. My mother would bring one of her sisters, my father his two sisters. They would bring neighbors, friends, and they would have a really good time. They would always have a pretty good crew with them. And when I was in high school, I would go with them as well. But my one aunt, she became a nurse later on in life. They had four children, and she was a stay-at-home mom. Her husband was a mechanic for Delta Airlines, and I want to say she was in her 40s when she went back to nursing school, or went to nursing school, and she graduated. Always has been very smart, this woman, and she retired at, I want to say she was 80 years old when she retired. And they almost kind of, I want to say, not made her retire, but they encouraged her to retire because it was right during COVID, and they didn't want her to come in and have any challenges. And she was, I believe, she worked at a VA hospital in New York. And yeah, she served and they loved, everyone loved her. And that's the kind of genes I have in me, and that makes me proud to stand on that. And that goes on both sides of the family for me. And just having my children around that type of environment and those types of relatives, to me, it shows them like we come from some good stock. um oh, thank you, Mrs. Newton. Big family, big noise. I appreciate that. FAMU just got $273 million endowment. Oh my goodness. Gianna, did you hear that? Did you hear before I just said it? Oh my goodness. And Spelman had received $100 million. Where are they getting all this money from? That's awesome. Good for them. I know FAMU has a law school now. I'm not sure how. It's not that old. It's less than 20 years for sure. Maybe about 10 years old. I know FAMU, Central, and Howard are three schools, HBCUs, that I know of that have law schools. Yes, thank her. Yes, definitely, definitely, because that is a service. TC HBCU Queen. Yes, thank you. Thank you for continuing to pray for my family. You know, I pray for everyone's family. I was at the procession. Goodness, y'all, I'm telling you, days go by. That's why you have to write stuff down. Just yesterday, Friday, I was at the procession for the officer that was killed in a crossfire, and it was actually a back and forth. So the person that they were trying to serve, he was also um, taken down. But there were three other service officials, not necessarily police officers. I think two were correctional officers and one was a DEA agent, I believe, were also taken down. but I went to the processional for the police officer, and I just started crying. And I didn't think I would because I don't know him personally, but I wasn't just crying for him. I was crying for everyone, that the all victims of it, of the circumstance. You know, everyone has a family. Everyone wants to come home to their family safe. Everyone wants to be safe for their family, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. And it's just, to me, all lives lost, especially when it comes to violence, is senseless. Now I understand none of us are getting out of this alive, so our day is going to come. But when it's taken forcefully in that way, either way, it's it's sad, and it just made me really praying for my children's safety, for everyone that is under the sound of my voice, anyone that I know, for their safety. Heck, when I go out onto the road, I pray for the drivers that are driving with me, because I'm hoping that they had a good experience and not stressed out, and that they remain safe, because we're all in this together, and you just don't want to see anyone perish in a nonsensible way. So yeah, it was pretty powerful too, to see the support that was provided. I did and it's crazy because I just mentioned this the other night, that I had an ex who was a police officer. That was something he always wanted to do, and he was an undercover, not an undercover, but security for a Sears and Roebuck appliance store. And back then, I don't know how it works now, but I know back then, the security would take the money that was made to the safety deposit box to deposit it at night at the end of the day. And he was doing that, and he was cool. Everybody knew him. Like, it was almost challenging for him to become a police officer, because he knew everybody. And so the force, in my town, in that area, they didn't think he would be as effective, because he knew too many people. And he had to continuously prove himself, that prove to them, like, nah, I'm in this because I want to serve my community. So at any rate, he got shot and murdered, basically. And his service was tremendous, very similar to what was, the service or the procession that I saw yesterday. And the procession went from the police department all the way down to the church. And he had a horse-drawn carriage, and they had the empty horseman. The horse was had his boots but turned backwards. um, I don't know if you've ever seen that. I think I might have posted that picture on my community wall. And just seeing all the officers coming out. There's a really big police recruit class. As you all probably know, it's challenging to recruit police officers because of the reputation. And they have a huge recruit class, very diverse: men, women, black, white, Spanish, everything. And just seeing them, and I'm just, praying for their safety, because they're trying to serve the community. And they're probably like, what in the world? But that's it. I mean, you never know any given day. But at any rate, we all need to remain prayed up. And if our day so comes, we want to make sure that the life we've led up to that point has been positive, has been impactful, has been a life that, speaks for us as human beings, and as a person that is in it for everyone, not just for ourselves. So, so they have donations to their endowment. Was it alumni, the person that made that endowment? I am too. But you know what? Slasher Chick, it's raining. It's been raining all day long. This morning it was torrential when we first left, and then it slacked up a little bit, but it basically was raining consistently all day, be it little drizzle or, complete downpour. So I'm just prayerful that we get home, in one piece. I know we will, but I just can't wait to be home. Yes. I'm excited to see what they would do with that endowment. That's a lot. Oh my goodness. I know Johnson C. Smith, that's the only HBCU in Charlotte. And they had received an endowment years ago and they built a beautiful I think it's either IT or engineering building with it. It's beautiful. Thank you for welcoming everyone. Elevate with Vern. How are things going your way? What kind of desserts are you talking about today at at the repast? Or let me see, we were talking about desserts. First of all, somebody made, I don't know if y'all have ever had corn pudding. Have you ever had corn pudding? Somebody made corn pudding, and apparently this I unfortunately I've never met any of my grandmothers. My mother's mother prayed, or not prayed, but actually dreamt about me before she died, and told my mother she was going to have me. And she told her this right before she passed away. And that grandmother passed away October of 1968, and I was born in October of 1969. My father's mother passed away, I want to say either 1970 or 1971. She saw me and held me as a baby once, but I didn't know her personally. But I've heard stories about her. So, of course, I feel like I know her just like my mother's mother. Just people sharing their experiences with them. And so I know for both mothers and all of you, I'm sure with grandmothers, aunties, everything, there's certain dishes that everyone knows they make very well. And one of the dishes that my father's mother made apparently very well was corn pudding. So all of my cousins that were there, and I'm the youngest out of all of my father's siblings' children. So out of the 11 children total, I'm the youngest first cousin. And so most of them, because my father is like the third or fourth youngest, he has nieces and nephews that are his age and older, because the age difference between my oldest aunt and my youngest uncle, or the oldest and the youngest in that 11, the age difference, because I remember figuring it out when I was little one year. I was just like, Uncle Rome is young and Aunt Carrie's old. How old are they? And what's the age difference? And it was a 30-year age difference. So my grandmother was having children for 30 years. And my mother's mother's my mother's mother, my mother's mother's mother, so my great grandmother on my mother's side, she had her 15th child at 50. So it's, our women in our family, they populate the world. But at any rate, all of my older cousins were saying how that corn pudding that we had today tasted exactly like my grandmother's. So it was kind of like taking me back in time, even though I never met her, didn't well, I met her but didn't know her. I felt like I got her essence while eating something that everyone claimed or swore tasted like something she made often, that she was known for making. So even though I'm not a cook like that, I definitely want to get that recipe and try to make it. It was so yummy. So yummy. Yes. Yes, she was, Vern. She was. Thank you. And so some desserts they had a lot of pound cakes, but with different drizzles, or maybe one different type of ingredient. And you could tell they were homemade. They had some homemade chocolate chip cookies. They had this apple kind of, it wasn't a turnover, but it was some type of apple, Danish-ish, homemade though, type of thing. They had prime rib. They had some pulled pork, um, potato salad, tossed salad, mixed vegetables, all different types of food. It was really good. Let's see. So the FAMU donation came from family that trust, and his personal donations as CEO of some big farm company. Okay, Interesting. Yeah, you know what, Vern, and that's what I was thinking too. It made me definitely think about that event. And I had when I had talked about it the other day about him, the song, because like I said, he was very popular in New Jersey, New York, everywhere. Everybody knew him. And that song by Boyz II Men just came out. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. And so when we were doing his procession, they had I remember driving behind the cars, I mean the hearse and everything. And at the minute we turned down that last long stretch, they started all the radio stations, 98.7 Kiss, WBLS, all of them. They started playing that song. It's so hard to say goodbye, and they played it in rotation. And the DJs were saying like it was dedicated to him, and it was just like it was almost as if everybody stood outside their house, their businesses, as we were driving by to give their final farewell to him. And even though he was an African American cop, the one that I'm talking about that I knew personally that I had dated, and he was my date for my debutante. When I was a debutante, he was my escort as well. Um, he, yeah, and so I forget what I was gonna say, but yeah. Oh, even though he was African American, they still played the bagpipes for his service, and that's just a tradition I believe that all police departments have. And it made me wonder, and it was beautiful. Bagpipes, I think, is a beautiful instrument, but I'm like, man, they're able to still groom and teach people to play that. That's amazing to me, because you would think that it would be a lost kind of art because there's not too many places they play the bagpipes, but they find a whole crew and bring them together to do it. Okay. For cornbread pudding, it's a texture. Okay, yeah. So, oh, you don't like bread pudding either? Yeah. And I'm a texture person too. I don't like soft typically. I like a crunch. So anything like with a little caramelized, or I don't know, I'm just like that. Or I have to have something nearby that has that crunch. Heck, it could be ice, whatever. But for some reason, this just tasted, I don't know, so different. And the bread pudding, the only bread pudding I really prefer is the bread pudding they make in New Orleans when they add like a little bit of, I believe, like rum, and sometimes they'll put pieces of apple or peaches in it, and it just takes it to a whole nother place. A whole nother place. Oh, did you see, are you looking on my community wall? Slasher chick at the horse? Let me see. What recipe are you talking about? Did I get the itis? I didn't. I'm surprised. You know what? What I've noticed here lately, I get the itis when I'm not eating the right foods. Some certain foods make me so sleepy. And I'm like, I have to remember that because that's not good for me. When you eat, you're supposed to your food is supposed to be fuel for your body. So if you get tired, it's not fueling your body appropriately, and you need to find out which piece of what food did you just eat that made that happen. And it might be because I don't know why, but I really wasn't tired after I ate. I was surprised because there was food for the soul there, but today I definitely wasn't. Yes, WBLS. Remember that station? Yeah, he was my escort. He was my first date too, in terms of coming to pick me up and driving us to like the movies or wherever dinner. I remember my parents watching us from the front door. You know how you're young, you might be what, 15 when you start dating, so maybe the guy will come over and just court you in that way. Well, this is how it was back in the day. They come over and court you to sit in the front room, but you didn't really go anywhere unless your mother or your father dropped you off. Sometimes my mother would do that, but he was the first one once I got a little bit older, like 17, because that's in my town, that's how old you had to be to drive. And so when we were 17, he, had a car and picked me up. So he was that first type of date for me too. I know, I know. And look, my dad eats ice. I said, Dad, you need to get your iron checked. Because that's all he wanted this whole time. Like, Dad, you want some water? No, I'll just get some ice. What? Dude, what you eating all that ice for? So I noticed that before too, because when we went to the hospital to see my aunt. I'm telling you, every hospital has that good ice. So the first thing I said was, can I get a cup of ice? And he was like, I want a cup too. And I looked at him like, wait, what? And yeah, but I told him, I said, you can't substitute that for water. That's the one thing you can't do, because ice has something in it. I forget what it is, and it's different. Ices have different elements in it that is just not. It's not all that good. It's not nutritious. Let's put it that way. It's definitely not nutritious. So I told him to get his iron checked. Oh yes, they nailed it. They nailed it. They did. They did. Well, everyone, I just wanted to come on here because I'm honoring my commitment to going live every day for the next 90 days. I'm looking forward to my Sweet 16 here on YouTube. And I am just so happy to have made it to day 34. If you have been checking this video out, if you're not yet part of this team, I invite you to hit the subscribe button and the bell for notification. And for those of you that have been rocking with me, Elevate with Fern, Slasher Chick, let's see, TC, HBCU, Queen TV, and Mrs. Newton's Big Family, Big Noise. I want to thank y'all for being here today and just riding with me, because that's what I'm doing. We just riding right now, and just all your support. And for those of you that hadn't been able to come on the chat, I appreciate you, all 500 of you, and those of you that have come and looked at this in the replay. Leave a comment. Let me know what some of your thoughts may have been from the things that I shared with you today. All right, I'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, remember, practice hard, practice so hard that when you play, you will always play to win. I am Coach Sherry.